Get out of my way. The scream tore through the afternoon heat like a machete through sugar cane. A skeletal woman with gray dreadlocks stumbled backward, her tin cup clattering against the hot asphalt, coins scattering like broken promises across the Lagos Expressway. Useless beggar, this is a respectable neighborhood. A security guard shoved her again, his baton raised. Move before I call the police. The woman's knees buckled. Her wrapper, faded to the color of old bones, slipped from her shoulder. She reached out one trembling hand, not in defense, but in pleading. Please, sir, just small something. I never chopped since morning. I said move. Car horns blared. Drivers cursed. The midday sun pressed down on everything like God's own iron. And in the back of a diamond-black Mercedes S-Class, stuck in the chaos of Victoria Island traffic, a man who owned 3 hotels and half of Lekki Phase 1 reached for his phone without looking up. Welcome to TJAY Story, where every tale carries a truth that could change your life. If you're new here, subscribe now, because what you're about to witness will shake you to your foundation. This is not just a story. This is a mirror. Delmare Okafor didn't do traffic. He did conference calls with Singapore. He did merger negotiations over lunch at the wheat baker. He did empire building while other men still dreamed of owning their first car. At 38 years old, he had transformed himself from the son of a roadside palm wine seller into a billionaire whose name appeared in Forbes Africa. His cologne cost more than some people's monthly rent. His watch could buy a 4-bedroom flat in Surulere. But today, Lagos had trapped even him. Sir, the junction is completely blocked, his driver, Emeka, said apologetically. That beggar woman is causing wahala. Police are coming. Then go around. Delmare's voice was ice wrapped in silk. He didn't look up from his tablet, where the final details of a 2 billion naira land acquisition glowed. One signature. Just one, and he would own the last undeveloped waterfront property in the entire state. Sir, there's nowhere to. I said go around, Emeka. I have a meeting in 40 minutes that will change the trajectory of this company. I don't have time for street drama. The car inched forward. Delmare's finger hovered over the digital signature pad. Then the woman's shadow fell across his window. She appeared like a ghost materializing from smoke, bent, broken, her face a map of suffering. She pressed her palm against the tinted glass, leaving a smudge print of dirt and desperation. Her lips moved in silent prayer. Oga, please, God will bless you. Just 20 naira for bread. Emeka, drive. But the traffic had them boxed in. Pedestrians squeezed between vehicles like water through cracks. Street hawkers balanced their wares on their heads, plantain chips, bottled water, phone chargers, hope packaged in plastic. And the woman remained at his window, her hand pressed to the glass like she was trying to reach through dimensions. Delmare finally looked up, irritation flashing across his aristocratic features. His eyes met hers through the tinted barrier. And the world stopped. Not metaphorically, not poetically, but with the violent, lurching halt of a car that had just struck something living. Time folded, sound muted. The heat, the noise, the chaos of Lagos, all of it collapsed into the singular, impossible recognition happening in his chest. Those eyes. He knew those eyes. They had watched him take his first steps. They had cried when he won the scholarship to secondary school. They had been the last thing he saw before he boarded the bus to university, before he disappeared into the life he'd built brick by brick, deal by deal, betrayal by betrayal. Mama. The word barely escaped his lips. A whisper, a wound, a question that shouldn't need asking. But she didn't hear him through the glass. Didn't recognize the boy who'd become a man who'd become a monument. She just kept begging, kept tapping, kept existing in a reality where her own son had become a stranger in an expensive car. Delmare's hand moved to the window button. Froze. His throat closed. His billion-dollar mind, sharp enough to negotiate with Chinese investors, ruthless enough to crush competitors, brilliant enough to turn dirt into gold, went completely, devastatingly blank. This cannot be real. He had sent money, every month for 5 years after he made his first million. Wire transfers that could have built houses, bought comfort, erased poverty. He had purchased her a 3-bedroom bungalow in Asaba, paid in full, papers signed, keys delivered. He had arranged for his younger brother, Fenyang, to care for her. He had fulfilled his duty as a son who'd been given the gift of escape. So why was his mother, begging on the streets of Lagos like a woman with no name, no family, no son who controlled enough wealth to change her reality with a single phone call? "Sir," Emeka's voice cut through the paralysis, "should I give her something?" The traffic shifted. A gap opened. The car behind them honked aggressively. And Delmare Okafor, the man who never hesitated, never second-guessed, never allowed emotion to compromise strategy, made a choice that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "Drive," he whispered. "Sir." "I said drive." The Mercedes surged forward. The woman's hand slipped from the window, leaving a smear like a farewell. Delmare twisted in his seat, watching through the rear window as she became smaller, then disappeared into the crowd, just another forgotten casualty of a city that devoured the weak. His hands were shaking. His heart hammered against his ribs like something trying to break free. The tablet slipped from his fingers onto the leather seat. "It wasn't her. It couldn't have been her. You're tired, you're stressed, you're seeing things." But even as his mind constructed these lies, his fingers were already pulling out his phone, scrolling to a number he hadn't called in 3 months. His brother. The one who was supposed to be watching over their mother. The one who'd promised, sworn on their father's grave, that she would never want for anything again. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then Fenyang's voice, casual and light. "Big brother, long time, what's the occasion?" Delmare's voice came out strangled, barely human. "Where is Mama?" A pause, then something that made Delmare's blood turn to ice water. Laughter. Not nervous laughter, not uncomfortable laughter, but the kind of laughter that comes from a man who's been waiting years for this exact moment. The laughter of someone who's been carrying a secret so heavy, so poisonous, that its release feels like exhaling after drowning. "Oh, Delmare," Fenyang said, and his voice dripped with something darker than hate. "You really want to know where Mama is, after all these years of pretending to care?" "What did you do?" Delmare's whisper could have cut steel. "What did you do?" But the line was already dead. If you saw your own mother begging on the street, would you stop everything for her, or keep chasing success? Drop your answer in the comments. Delmare's hands crushed the phone so hard the screen cracked. "Turn the car around." "Sir," Emeka glanced in the rearview mirror, alarm spreading across his face. His boss looked like a man possessed, eyes wild, jaw clenched so tight the muscles jumped beneath expensive skin. "I said turn this car around now." The Mercedes swerved across 2 lanes, horns screaming in protest. But Delmare was already dialing again, his cracked screen cutting into his thumb. Blood smeared across the glass. He didn't notice. The phone rang, and rang, and rang. Pick up, you bastard, pick up." It went to voicemail. Delmare threw the phone against the window so hard it bounced back, hit the seat, shattered completely. "Emeka, how fast can we get to Asaba?" "Sir, that's 5 hours minimum, and you have the Singapore meeting." "Cancel it." Delmare's roar filled the car like thunder. "Cancel everything, every meeting, every call, every goddamn thing on my calendar for the next week. Do you understand me?" Emeka had worked for Delmare Okafor for 6 years. He had seen his boss fire executives without blinking. He had watched him negotiate men into submission with nothing but silence. But he had never seen him like this. "Yes, sir." But Delmare was already shaking his head, thinking faster. No, he won't be in Asaba. He knows I'm coming. He's had years to prepare for this." His mind spun through possibilities like a computer processing data. "Take me to Lekki, the Peninsula Hotel, now." "Sir." "My brother is too proud to hide in our village. He'll be somewhere he can feel important, somewhere he can spend." The words caught in his throat like fish hooks. "Just drive." The Peninsula Hotel sat on the edge of Lagos like a glass cathedral to wealth. Delmare stormed through the lobby in his three-piece Tom Ford suit, leaving a wake of startled glances. The receptionist opened her mouth to greet him, but something in his face made her swallow the words. "Fenyang Okafor, what room?" "Sir, I can't give out guest info." Delmare slapped a black American Express card on the marble counter. "That's 500,000 naira if you tell me in the next 10 seconds, or I buy this hotel and fire you in the next 10 minutes. Choose." Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Suite 407. He didn't wait for the elevator. The stairs blurred beneath his Italian leather shoes. 4 floors climbed in less than 2 minutes. His heart felt like it was trying to punch through his ribcage. Images kept flashing. His mother's hand on the window, the dirt smudged across expensive glass, those eyes that had once held the whole world now holding nothing but hunger and resignation. Suite 407. He didn't knock. The door exploded inward under his shoulder. Custom lock, $700, shattered like kindling. And there, sprawled across a leather couch with a bottle of Hennessy and a woman in a red dress, was Fenyang. His brother looked up slowly, almost bored. "Ah, big brother finally decides to visit. Should I call for extra glasses?" Delmare crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed Fenyang by his silk shirt, and slammed him against the wall so hard picture frames jumped. The woman screamed and ran. "Where is the house?" Fenyang smiled, actually smiled, blood trickling from where his head had hit the wall. "Which house, brother? You've bought so many, it's hard to keep track." "The house I bought for Mama, the one in Asaba, the one you swore on Papa's grave you would keep safe." "Oh," Fenyang's smile widened into something grotesque. "That house." "Where is it?" "Sold it." The words hung in the air like smoke from a gun. Delmare's grip tightened. "You're lying." "Sold it 3 years ago. Got 12 million for it. Good property market that year. Thank you for buying in such a nice neighborhood." "The money I sent every month." "Also gone. What did you think? That I'd play houseboy to an old woman while you flew around the world in private jets, while you shook hands with presidents and I swept her floors?" Fenyang's voice rose, years of poison finally spilling out. "You got the scholarship. You got to leave. You got to become somebody while I stayed behind, stuck in that village, watching her cry for you every single night." "I sent money. I sent enough money too." "To ease your guilt." Fenyang shoved him back with surprising strength. "You sent money so you could sleep at night in your mansion, so you could tell yourself you were a good son while you built your empire on our backs." "I was building a future for all of us." "You were running away." Fenyang's roar echoed off marble walls. "You got the scholarship and you ran. You never looked back. You never called unless it was to wire money like we were some charity case. Do you know how that felt? Do you know what it's like to watch your brother become everything while you become nothing? So you stole from her. You put our mother, on the streets like an animal." "I didn't put her anywhere." Fenyang poured himself another drink with steady hands. "She chose to look for you. After the money stopped coming, after I told her you'd cut us off, she went to Lagos to find her precious, successful son, to beg you to remember her. And what did you do today, brother, when she stood at your window?" Delmare's blood turned to ice. "You drove away, just like you've been driving away from us for 15 years. The truth of it hit Delmare like a physical blow. His knees weakened. He grabbed the wall for support. "You're lying. The money never stopped. I've been sending. To an account I controlled. Every kobo. And I spent every kobo. On this suite. On that woman. On cars and clothes and watches. All the things you got to have while I rotted in the village, watching an old woman pray for a son who forgot her name." Silence filled the room like water filling lungs. "I'll kill you," Delmare whispered. "I will destroy you. I will take everything you have, everything you are." "Go ahead." Fenyang raised his glass in mock salute. "But first, you might want to find Mama. Last I heard, she sleeps near Balogun Market, unless the area boys have chased her away by now. You know how they treat homeless women in Lagos." Delmare turned and ran. Down the stairs, through the lobby, into the night that had fallen over Lagos like a burial shroud. His driver barely had time to start the engine before Delmare was screaming directions to Balogun Market. The streets blurred past. His mind raced faster. How long has she been out there? Days? Weeks? Months? The money he'd been sending, money that could have saved her, protected her, given her dignity, had been funding his brother's resentment instead. Balogun Market at night was a different world. Shadows moved between stalls. Fires burned in metal drums. And there, beneath a torn tarpaulin stretched between market poles, surrounded by other forgotten souls, he found her. She was asleep, curled on cardboard, her tin cup clutched to her chest like a child holds a teddy bear. Delmare fell to his knees beside her, his expensive suit soaking up filth and water. His hands shook as he reached out, afraid that touching her would make her disappear, that this was all some nightmare his guilt had constructed. "Mama," he whispered. Her eyes opened. For a moment they were unfocused, confused. Then recognition hit, not joy, not relief, but something infinitely worse. "Ray." She sat up slowly, her body creaking like old wood. And then, with strength he didn't know she still possessed, she raised her hand and slapped him across the face. The sound echoed across the market like a gunshot. The old woman's palm had left a mark on Delmare Okafor's face that his billion-naira empire couldn't erase. Market vendors had stopped mid-motion, frozen like actors in a paused film. A taxi driver climbing from his car stood with one foot still inside, mouth hanging open. Even the area boys who controlled the nighttime commerce had gone silent, watching this impossible scene. A man in clothes worth more than their yearly income, on his knees in the dirt, his cheek blazing red from his mother's hand. "Mama, please." The second slap came harder. "Don't call me that." Her voice was sandpaper wrapped around broken glass. "You lost that right the day you forgot I existed." "I never forgot." "Liar!" The word exploded from her like she'd been storing it in her chest for years, and now it finally had permission to breathe. She stood, this woman who looked like death's grandmother, this skeleton wrapped in rags, and suddenly she seemed 10 feet tall. "You forgot me the moment that bus took you away from our village. You forgot me when you got your first job and didn't come home. You forgot me when you made your first million and sent money instead of your face." Delmare reached for her, but she slapped his hands away. "Do you know what it's like?" Her voice cracked. "To tell the other women in the village, my son is in Lagos, my son is a big man now, my son will come for Christmas. Year after year I said it, year after year they pitied me. I was building something for us. I was trying to make enough money so you'd never struggle. I didn't need your money." The scream tore from somewhere so deep inside her it seemed to pull pieces of her soul with it. "I needed my son. I needed you to come home and sit with me and eat my food and tell me about your life. I needed you to introduce me to your friends and let me meet your wife and hold my grandchildren. But you sent money instead, like I was a bill to be paid." The crowd around them had grown. People were recording now, phones held high, capturing the billionaire's shame for social media immortality. Delmare didn't care. "Mama, I know I failed you. I know I." "You know nothing." She was crying now, tears cutting through the dirt on her face like rivers through desert sand. "When your brother told me the money stopped coming, I thought you were dead. I wept for you. I mourned you. And then I thought, no, maybe he's in trouble. Maybe he needs help. So I came to Lagos to find you. Fenyang lied to you. I never stopped sending. I begged your car window this afternoon." Her shriek silenced the entire market. "I looked into your eyes and begged you for 20 naira, and you looked at me like I was garbage, like I was dirt beneath your expensive tires." The memory of it crashed through Delmare like a building collapsing. He had looked at her, had seen those eyes, had recognized some deep, terrible familiarity, and he had chosen, in that split second of confusion and denial, to drive away. "I didn't know it was you, I swear, You didn't want to know." She stepped closer, and he could smell the poverty on her, days without bathing, clothes worn until they became part of skin, the particular odor of desperation that no amount of money can mask once it's soaked into bone. Because knowing would have meant admitting what you've become. A man so big, so important, so successful that even his own mother looks like a stranger. Delmare's vision blurred. He realized dimly that he was crying, something he hadn't done since his father's funeral, something he'd trained himself never to do in public. But the tears came anyway, hot and shameful. "I'm sorry. God, Mama, I'm so sorry. I'll fix this. I'll fix everything. The house, the money, whatever Fenyang did." "Fenyang," she said the name like a curse. "My other son, the one who stayed, the one who was supposed to love me." She laughed, and it was the most broken sound Delmare had ever heard. "He sold the house you bought. Did you know that? Sold it and told me to leave, his own mother. He put me out on the street like a dog. I'll make him pay. I swear to you I'll." "You'll do nothing to him." Her voice went hard. "He's your brother, my son. Whatever poison is between you two, I won't have my children destroying each other. After what he did to you. After what you did to me." She swayed slightly, and Delmare caught her before she fell. Her body felt like a bundle of sticks held together by will alone. "Fenyang's sin was cruelty, yours was abandonment. Which wound cuts deeper, do you think?" She collapsed then, just folded in on herself like a puppet with cut strings. Delmare caught her fully, cradling her against his chest, and felt how little of her remained. Skin, bones, and the fatting echo of the woman who'd birthed him in a village with no electricity, no running water, nothing but love and hope that her children might escape the poverty that had defined her entire existence. "Somebody help me." Delmare's roar brought the frozen crowd back to life. "Call an ambulance, now." But he didn't wait. He lifted her, this woman who weighed less than his briefcase, and ran to his car. Emeka had the door open, had already started the engine. The Merced's burned rubber pulling away from Balogun Market, racing toward Reddington Hospital in Lekki, the best private hospital in Lagos, the place where money could buy miracles. She was unconscious in his arms, her breathing shallow and irregular. Delmare held her like he was trying to hold water in his hands, watching it slip away despite his best efforts. "Stay with me, Mama, please. I know I don't deserve it, but please stay with me." The hospital doors exploded open under his shoulder. Nurses and doctors swarmed, questions flying like bullets. What happened? How long has she been unconscious? What's her medical history? "I don't know." Delmare's confession felt like ripping out his own heart. "I don't know anything about her. I don't know what medications she takes, what she's allergic to. When she last ate, I don't know my own mother." They wheeled her away on a gurney, disappearing behind white doors marked emergency. Delmare stood in the hallway, his $1,000 suit ruined with market filth, blood from his cracked phone screen still on his thumb, the imprint of his mother's hand still burning on his face. A doctor appeared, clipboard in hand, expression professional but grim. "Mr. Okafor, we need to run tests, but I can tell you right now, she's severely malnourished, dehydrated, and showing signs of advanced pneumonia. How long has she been living on the streets?" "I don't know." "Does she have any other family who might know her medical?" "I don't know." Delmare's roar echoed through the pristine hospital corridor. "I know she gave birth to me 38 years ago. I know she sold everything she had to send me to school. I know she used to make the best pepper soup in our village. And I know I abandoned her to chase money and power and all the things I thought mattered. That's what I know." The doctor stepped back, then forward again, his voice gentler. "We'll do everything we can, Mr. Okafor, but you should prepare yourself. Her body has been through severe trauma. The damage may be permanent." "Permanent?" The word hung in the sterile air like a death sentence. Delmare's legs gave out. He slid down the wall, expensive fabric scraping against hospital paint, until he was sitting on the floor like a child. Around him, nurses and visitors stared. Someone was definitely still recording. By tomorrow, the whole of Lagos would know that Delmare Okafor, the billionaire empire builder, had been found broken and weeping in a hospital corridor. He didn't care. His phone, the replacement Emeka had somehow procured, buzzed, messages flooding in. The Singapore deal had fallen through. His business partners were panicking. His lawyers were calling. His world was collapsing. And for the first time in his adult life, Delmare Okafor realized he didn't care about any of it. What good was an empire if it was built on his mother's suffering? What good was success if it meant trading presents for presents, attention for money, love for the cold comfort of a wire transfer. The white doors swung open. A nurse approached, her face carefully neutral. "Mr. Okafor, your mother is awake. She's asking for you." Can money ever replace presence, or is absence the deepest wound of all? Comment below with your truth. And if this story is wrecking you the way it's meant to, subscribe now and hit that notification bell. This story is about to go somewhere you won't expect. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and regret. Delmare stood in the doorway, afraid to enter, afraid to speak, afraid that one wrong word would shatter whatever fragile thread still connected him to the woman lying in the bed, hooked up to machines that beeped her existence into the sterile air. His mother looked smaller somehow, as if the hospital bed was swallowing her. IV lines snaked into her arms. An oxygen mask covered her face, but her eyes, those eyes that had slapped him harder than her hand ever could, were open and watching him. "Come," she whispered, her voice muffled by plastic. He moved like a man walking to his own execution, sat in the chair beside her bed, took her hand, so small, so fragile, bones wrapped in paper-thin skin. "Mama, SHHH. She squeezed his fingers with surprising strength. "I know what you're going to say. I know you're sorry. I know you want to fix everything." She paused, breathing hard through the mask. "But there's something you need to do first." "Anything, name it." "Forgive your brother." The words hit him like a physical blow. Delmare jerked back, pulling his hand away. "You can't be serious. After what he did to you. After he stole everything and left you on the streets to die. He's your brother. He's a thief, a liar. He deserves to rot in prison for what He's your brother." Each word came with effort, but they carried the weight of absolute authority. "And he's my son. Whatever happened between us, I won't have you destroying each other. There's been enough destruction in this family." "Mama, you're not thinking clearly. The doctors said I'm dying." She said it matter-of-factly, like announcing the weather. "My body is shutting down. Years of hunger and cold and sleeping on concrete have done damage that no amount of your money can fix." "Don't say that. We'll get the best doctors, fly-in specialists from America." "Delmare." She removed the oxygen mask, and suddenly he saw her clearly, not as the beggar from the street, not as the skeleton in rags, but as his mother. The woman who had sung him to sleep, who had celebrated every small victory, who had loved him before the world taught him to measure love in Naira and Kobo. "I'm not asking you to forgive him for me. I'm asking you to forgive him for yourself, because if you don't, you'll become exactly what you're accusing him of being." "That's different. He betrayed you," she smiled sadly. "Like you betrayed me. We all fail each other, son. The question is whether we let that failure define us or teach us." Before Delmare could respond, his phone buzzed. A text from his security team, Fenyang Okafor attempting to enter Reddington Hospital. Currently detained at entrance, awaiting your instructions. Delmare's jaw clenched. He has some nerve showing his face here. "Let him come." His mother's voice was firm despite her weakness. "Let him come or I will remove these tubes and walk out of here myself." "Mama, you can't." "Try me." They brought Fenyang and handcuffed. He looked different than he had in the hotel suite, smaller somehow, diminished. His silk shirt was wrinkled. His eyes were red, either from drinking or crying or both. When he saw their mother in the hospital bed, something in his face crumbled. "Mama," it came out as a sob. "Release him," Delmare ordered the security guards. They hesitated. "I said release him." The handcuffs clicked open. Fenyang stood there rubbing his wrists, unable to meet anyone's eyes. The silence in the room was suffocating. "Do you have anything to say?" Delmare's voice could have cut diamonds. Fenyang opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. He swallowed hard. "I sold the house because I was angry. I spent the money because I wanted you to hurt the way I was hurting. Every Naira I stole, every Kobo I wasted, I told myself it was justice, that you owed us, that you owed me for being the one left behind. So you punished our mother for my sins." "I punished everyone, including myself." Fenyang's voice cracked. "Do you think I slept at night? Do you think I didn't hear her voice in my head every time I bought another bottle, another suit, another lie to tell myself? I became a monster to hurt you, brother, and the only person I truly destroyed was myself. That's supposed to make it better. No, Fenyang finally looked up and his eyes were drowning. Nothing makes it better. Nothing I say or do will ever make it better. But I'm begging you. He dropped to his knees, and it wasn't theatrical, it wasn't manipulation, it was genuine collapse. Don't send me to prison, not because I don't deserve it, I do, but because it will kill Mama faster than any disease. Delmare turned to his mother. You hear this? He's manipulating you even now. Then let him manipulate me. She was crying now, tears sliding down her hollow cheeks. I've lost 15 years with one son. I'm losing what little time I have left. Don't make me lose both of you to pride and revenge. It's not pride, it's justice. Justice? His mother's laugh was bitter. You want justice? Fine, put your brother in prison, destroy him completely. Make him pay for every naira he stole. And then what? Will that give me back my house, my health, my years? Or will it just mean I'll die knowing my sons hate each other? Delmare looked at Fenyang, really looked at him for the first time. And he saw it. The same exhaustion, the same guilt, the same impossible weight of failure. They were mirrors of each other, both broken in different ways by the same poverty that had defined their childhood. I should destroy you, Delmare whispered. Yes, Fenyang agreed. I should take everything from you the way you took everything from her. Yes. But she's asking me not to, and I've denied her enough for one lifetime. Delmare extended his hand. Not in friendship, not in forgiveness, but in the first fragile step toward something that might, someday, look like healing. Fenyang stared at it like it was a hallucination. Then slowly, hesitantly, he took it. If you ever hurt her again, Delmare's grip tightened to the point of pain, there is no power in heaven or hell that will save you from me. Are we clear? Crystal. Good, now get up and apologize to our mother properly. Fenyang crawled to the bedside, took her hand, and broke down completely, sobbing apologies into her sheets like a child confessing to a broken vase. I'm sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. I was so angry and I blamed everyone but myself and I. Hush, she stroked his head with her free hand. I know, I forgive you. I forgive both of you. Now you need to forgive each other. The machines beeped. The hospital hummed with its nighttime rhythm. And in that room, something shifted, not fixed, not healed, but cracked open enough to let light in. That's when the alarms started screaming. His mother's body seized. The monitors exploded with panic. Nurses flooded in, pushing both brothers aside. She's coding. Get the crash cart. BP dropping rapidly. Mama! Both brothers screamed it simultaneously, reaching for her as doctors swarmed. You need to leave, now. They dragged them out. Two grown men, one worth billions, one worth nothing, both equally powerless, and shut the door in their faces. Through the window, they watched doctors fight death with electricity and chemicals and desperate prayer. Fenyang collapsed against the wall. If she dies, it's my fault. I killed her. We killed her. Delmare slid down beside him. Both of us, you with theft, me with absence, we're both guilty. They sat there, two brothers who'd spent years as strangers, waiting to see if their mother would survive long enough to see them become family again. The door opened. A doctor emerged, exhausted. She's stable, for now. 3 months later, Delmare Okafor stood at the entrance of a building that didn't appear on any map of his properties. It wasn't in Lekki. It wasn't Victoria Island. It was in Agegunnel, the part of Lagos that tourists never saw, where poverty wasn't a statistic but a daily reality, where people survived because giving up meant death. The sign above the door read, Mama's house, where no one eats alone. You sure about this? Fenyang stood beside him, nervous. His brother looked different now, thinner, sober, wearing simple clothes instead of silk. He'd sold everything, paid back what he could, and begged for a chance at redemption. Delmare had given it to him. I've never been more sure of anything. They walked in together. The interior was warm, clean, filled with long tables where elderly women sat eating hot meals. Some chatted, some ate in silence, some wept quietly into their soup. All of them had been where their mother had been, on the streets, forgotten, invisible to a world too busy to see them. Their mother sat in a wheelchair by the window, overseeing everything like a general commanding an army of love. The doctors had been right. The damage was permanent. She would never walk unaided again. Her lungs were scarred. Her body had surrendered years she'd never get back. But she was alive, and she was smiling. "Mama," Delmare knelt beside her chair. "The shipment from Abuja arrived. Enough rice and beans to feed 500 people this week." "Good, and the medical supplies." "Dr. Okonkwo will be here Thursday. Free checkups for everyone." She squeezed his hand. "You're doing good work, son." "We're doing good work." He looked at Fenyang, who was serving food at one of the tables, laughing with an old woman who was telling him a story. "Both of us." It had been Fenyang's idea, actually. During one of their mother's many hospital stays, he'd broken down and confessed his deepest fear, that he'd wasted his entire life on bitterness and had nothing to show for it but shame. "Then don't waste what's left," their mother had said. "Help me build something that matters." And so Mama's house was born. Delmare had provided the money, had liquidated investments, sold properties, poured millions into the project. But Fenyang had provided something equally valuable: presence. He lived here now, managing the daily operations, knowing every woman by name, hearing their stories, bearing witness to suffering that had once been invisible to him. "Your brother is good at this," their mother observed. "Better than I expected. He's trying to make amends." "No," she shook her head slowly. "He's trying to become who he should have been all along. There's a difference." A commotion at the door drew their attention. More women arriving, some with children clinging to their wrappers, some alone, all carrying the particular weariness of people who'd forgotten what hope looked like. Fenyang greeted each one personally. "Welcome, you're safe here. Come, let me get you something to eat." Delmare watched his brother work and felt something he hadn't felt in years: pride. Not in accomplishments or acquisitions, but in simple humanity restored. "I want to expand," their mother said suddenly. "One Mama's house isn't enough. This city is full of forgotten women, full of people like me, like I was, who just need someone to see them." "How many are you thinking?" 10 to start, one in every major area. Then we spread to other cities. Ibadan, Abuja, Port Harcourt. Her eyes blazed with the kind of fire that no hospital bed could extinguish. "I want to build an army of dignity." Delmare laughed, the first real laugh in months. "An army of dignity, I like that. Will you help me?" He looked around Mama's house, saw women eating who would have otherwise gone hungry, saw children being fed, saw humanity being restored one meal at a time. This wasn't about profit margins or quarterly returns. This was about the only investment that actually mattered. "Yes, Mama, we'll help you build your army." That night, after the last meal was served, and the last woman found a safe place to sleep, the three of them sat together in the small office Delmare had built for his mother. "Read it to them," their mother said, handing Fenyang a letter. He unfolded it carefully, began to read. "Dear Mama's house, my name is Kioma. I used to sleep under the Ojulegba Bridge. I begged for change. I thought my life was over. Then someone told me about this place. You gave me food. You gave me shelter. But more than that, you gave me back my name. I am not that beggar woman anymore. I am Kioma, and I matter. Thank you for reminding me I'm human." Fenyang's voice broke on the last words. Their mother smiled. "That's why we do this, not for gratitude, but because everyone deserves to remember they're human." Delmare felt his phone buzz, another business matter requiring attention, another deal that could make millions. He looked at it, then looked at his mother, then put the phone away. "The Singapore investors are calling," Fenyang observed. "Let them call. That's a 2 billion naira deal." "And this," Delmare gestured at the walls covered with thank you letters, at the photos of women who'd been transformed by simple kindness, at his mother's face glowing with purpose. "This is priceless." His mother reached out, took both her son's hands, pulled them close. "My boys," she whispered. "My beautiful, broken, perfectly imperfect boys. Do you know what I'm most proud of?" The houses were building, Delmare guessed. The women were helping, Fenyang tried. "No," she squeezed their hands tighter. "I'm proud that you finally understand what I always knew. The only wealth that matters is the lives you touch, the pain you ease, the love you give when no one's watching. Everything else is just noise." They sat there in the small office, 3 people who'd been shattered and were slowly, painfully, learning how to be whole again. Outside, Lagos roared on, indifferent, relentless, beautiful, and cruel. But inside Mama's house, forgotten women were remembering their names, and 2 brothers who'd been strangers were learning to be family. The phone rang again. This time, Delmare answered. "Mr. Okafor, the board is concerned about your absence from." "Tell the board I resign." "Silence then, sir." "You heard me, effective immediately. Distribute my shares to the executive team. I'm done." He hung up before they could respond. "What are you doing?" Fenyang stared at him like he'd announced he was joining a cult. "Something I should have done years ago." Delmare looked at his mother. "I'm choosing what matters." She didn't say anything, didn't need to. Her smile said everything. That's when she collapsed forward, unconscious before either brother could catch her. Can the pain meant to destroy you become the reason others are saved? Drop your answer below. And if this story has grabbed hold of your soul, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. The funeral procession stretched for 3 miles. They came from everywhere, from Agegunnel and Lekki, from villages whose names appeared on no map, from the streets where they'd once slept. Thousands of women in white, carrying candles, singing songs that turned grief into something holy. Delmare stood at the graveside in a simple black shirt, no designer suit, no Italian leather. Fenyang beside him, their shoulders touching, both men hollow-eyed from weeks of watching their mother fade. She'd lasted 6 more months after that collapse in Mama's house. 6 months of slow goodbyes, of whispered wisdom, of making them promise to continue the work. 6 months of teaching them that death wasn't the opposite of life, forgetting was. "She touched 4,317 lives," Fenyang said quietly, reading from his notebook. "That's how many women passed through Mama's house. That's how many people she saw when the world looked away." "She saw us too," Delmare replied, "when we'd stopped seeing each other." The priest spoke words about heaven and rest and peace, but Delmare barely heard. He was remembering something else, the last conversation, 3 nights before she died. "Do you regret it, Mama? The suffering, the streets?" She'd smiled, morphine-soft but clear-eyed. "I regret nothing that brought me here, to this moment, to my sons, finally brothers, to a house built on ashes that feeds the hungry. Pain is only wasted if we learn nothing from it." "I learned too late." "No, baby." She touched his face with trembling fingers. "You learned exactly when you needed to, not a moment before, not a moment after." Now they lowered her into the ground, this woman who'd begged at car windows and died knowing she'd changed the world. The earth received her like a prodigal daughter finally coming home. One by one, the women from Mama's house approached the grave, each dropping a single flower and speaking a name. Their own name, the one they'd forgotten until she'd reminded them they mattered. Kioma. Blessing. Ngozi. Amara. 4,000 names, 4,000 flowers, 4,000 reasons why her life had meant something beyond what any bank account could measure. When it was done, when the crowd dispersed and only the brothers remained, Fenyang spoke first. "What do we do now?" Delmare looked toward the city's skyline, Lagos, burning gold in the sunset, still full of forgotten people, still hungry, still waiting for someone to see them. "We build 9 more houses, then 90, then 900. He turned to his brother. "We make sure her army of dignity becomes so large, so loud, so impossible to ignore that no mother ever has to beg at her own son's window again." Fenyang nodded. She'd like that. She'd love it. They walked away from the grave together, two men who'd been strangers, who'd been enemies, who were now brothers bound by the woman who'd loved them even when they'd forgotten how to love each other. Behind them, the sun set on their mother's resting place. Ahead of them, Mama's house waited, doors open, tables set, ready to feed the hungry and remind the forgotten that they had names, they had worth, they had a place at the table. And somewhere, in the space between grief and grace, their mother smiled. What legacy are you building, and who might you be forgetting along the way? This is TJAY's story, where every tale carries a truth that could change your life. If this story touched you, hit that subscribe button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment telling us what lesson you're taking with you. Because the greatest stories aren't the ones we watch, they're the ones we live. See you in the next one.